This video takes the complete piss out of the movie The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Fact! Welcome to one of the worst adaptations in movie history, a shoot which had more than its fair share of rumbly-tumblies, historic floods, a pressuring deadline, and a very famous elderly man who acted like a child with high support needs when he felt things weren't going his way. Taken from the remarkable and extremely clever graphic novel featuring a team of superheroes in Victorian England, the film studio seemed hell-bent on its failure early on. Have a survivor of Dracula, a woman limited by her gender in Victorian life, but yet she pushes on defying these limitations of the day? Someone highly mentally resilient as a result of surviving a vampire attack, an encounter which would have killed most human beings but not her? No. Make her leader of the group as in the comic. A group which includes a piratical terrorist and two highly dangerous criminals, and yet none of them really challenge her. They quickly grow to respect her and they do as she asks? No. Are you going to express that all fictional characters written around the same time period all live in this dark parallel universe together? This was by far the cleverest idea in the graphic novel, and if written properly would amaze the audience and really immerse them into this extraordinary world? Whatever. Well, what about the cool steampunk octopus ship, the Nautilus, belonging to Nemo? That'll surely be in it. It has tentacles, for goodness sakes, and picks people out of the Thames. No, that's not going to be in it, no. Alright then, as long as it doesn't look like some big, garish, cheap-looking dinner knife, then everything will be fine. Oh, fuff. Helmed by Stephen Norrington, who directed the completely awesome First Blade movie, and written by British comic book writer James Dale Robinson, initially things looked pretty good for this film. Then the dark times came, with extensive rewrites and the hiring of Sir Sean Connery for $17 million out of a budget of $78 million. Given an executive producer role, he refused to play Alan Quatermain as a recovering drug addict, as he had been in the graphic novel, and was now made leader of the group, the Wanker. He only took the role in this movie after passing on both The Lord of the Rings and The Matrix, saying he didn't understand their source materials. Well, he was clearly bloody well right on that, as he didn't understand the source material of The League either, and amongst others, buggered it right up. On-set clashes between Connery and Norrington were widely reported in the media. Old Sir Sean threw his toys right out of the pram when Norrington cancelled filming for the day as he didn't like the look of a prop elephant gun. Now, this was a guy who was being paid $17 million in 2004, which is around $25 million today. What would you do for $25 million? What would you put up with for $25 million? Would you be willing to wait in your luxury caravan for that amount? I'd be happy for the cast and crew to throw chairs and knives at me all day for 6 months, or possibly longer, for that amount of money. Also, what were the behaviours of the other, much cheaper actors who were also in the movie? I think they would probably feel very lucky to be paid a very decent wage to be flown around the world to dress up and pretend to be someone else. I think the movie would have been a lot different and probably at least a bit better if someone else was hired to play the role of Quatermain. Connery's aggressive behaviours towards Norrington not backing down, and the subsequent gloom that settled upon the set had a clear negative effect on this film. Right, so here are some of the standout moments from this pile of old shite. Faced with a World War I era tank, British police are unable to simply stand out of its path like you and I would, and so run before it in terror or just get crushed like this silly Egypt. They can step out of the way of a bloody horse and cart, they can't step out of the way of this. They then run alongside it, hitting it with their truncheons, expecting what's going to explode. In recruiting Dorian Gray, the League are ambushed by the Phantom and his dastardly chums in Dorian's rather cool-looking library. However, they are all thwarted from shooting anything, to be honest, when a ladder on a rail is simply pushed around the room at speed. In fact, with their automatic machine guns, they don't hit anything at all. Nemo is confronted by 3 henchmen armed with, you guessed it, automatic machine guns. They don't fire on him, but instead rather nicely ask him to draw his pistol in the middle of an ongoing firefight. They then immediately regret this as he completely kicks the shit out of all of them. Mina waits until every bad guy is dead except one to reveal that she is in fact a vampire and could have basically eliminated everything in the room by herself. She then munches on him a bit. The reaction of her teammates to seeing this is similar to being on a pub crawl with a female friend who desperately needs the toilet and has to duck behind a car to have a quick wee. The League then track down Mr. Hyde out for his evening run across the rooftops of Paris. He's unsurprisingly captured, and we see how big his top hat is. Where would he ever buy one of those? There is an underwater bomb attack beneath the city of Venice. Now this is registered to us, the viewers, as the revellers looking scared and panicked, screaming and running around, as you may well do. After the multiple explosions on Venice have stopped at the end of the scene, the revellers, who were all initially running around completely terrified, all go back to talking and laughing with each other within around 5 seconds as if nothing had happened at all. They must have been completely high. Tom Sawyer, who's never seen or let alone driven a vehicle before, realistically demonstrates this by donutting a car around the harbour. We also get running commentary about what's happening as it happens from Sir Sean in case we don't understand what's actually happening. Then we have this guy. No, not even going to talk about him. No, next. We then see the League attend Quatermain's funeral, where you can just about hear Sir Sean Connery's muffled voice in the coffin saying that he was still in the sulk about that fight he had with the director who refused to back down. And to punish the director, he would now blame him for his sudden exit from Hollywood. Twat. What a wasted opportunity this was. If the adaptation had been better, it may have very certainly spawned a number of sequels, which the studio were very keen on. Why buy the rights and then completely and deliberately cut out most of its details? You know, the details that make it stand out, remarkable and unique. The details that make it different from everything else. Those details. All of the characters in this movie were paper thin. Their dialogue was poor, the story was plodding and unexciting. The reviews for this movie were poor to say the least, but rather surprisingly, and who'd have thought it, it actually made a profit of 179 million. In closing, I will say, always be wary of a film or series where the hero or heroes face off with copies of themselves. It means they run out of ideas or money, or probably both. Thanks very much for listening. Please like and subscribe.